What's going on, guys? Blake Hawthorn, Itshisturf. Today's video is going to be a fun one. So this is a backyard transformation where we have done everything. We ripped out an old pool, put in a new pool, did a raised patio, hot tub. We're doing a splash pad in this video. You'll get to see every aspect of it, from us prepping the ground to start the initial demo to the French drain you see on the left-hand side, and the utilities going in. But I've got Kevin with Fall River here with me, guys. He helped me a lot on this project, and we're going to go through it step by step with you, answer some questions, share some about some of our other businesses that we do together, and just let you in on a little bit of the behind-the-scenes stuff.
Yeah, it's good to be here. I'm enjoying doing these podcast-style videos like we're doing.
Absolutely. It's pretty cool to kind of reflect, kind of see how our viewers interact with us, and to be able to kind of take it to that next level, maybe answer a question from the video before, or this or that, or kind of fill in the gaps and see what people are thinking as they're watching the videos that we put together for them. So this area here, guys, we'll just kind of jump into the project. Maybe somebody's watching that wants to build a splash pad in their in their backyard, or do something like this. Typically I like to run them off of the lake. This is an Airbnb, so there's going to be a lot of people coming in, and they want it as a standalone feature. So the bad thing about it not running off the lake is all the extra tanks and pumps and everything you've got to have. The good thing about it, though, is you're not bringing the algae and stuff from the lake and putting it in your spa or your pool and it turning green and, being so much extra maintenance.
Yeah, just having the kids go out there and play in the splash pad, get that lake water all over them. Then they run up there and jump in the pool. Now you've just transferred all that algae and stuff to your pool. Your pool turns green.
Yeah, give it 24 hours, it's green, and you're shocking it.
So I get why he wanted to have a standalone system on this one. Right. It's quite a bit more expensive.
Yes.
I mean, I remember the day, I just happened to be at the shop the day the tank came in for this thing. And I remember we both had, when that guy opened the back of that freight truck, I think both of our eyes bulged out of our heads.
Yeah, jaws dropped, like, what are we going to do with this
Where are we going to put that tank?
Yeah, it's like 7-8 foot tall because it has an access chute on it. Luckily, that access chute can be cut down. But we were nervous because you can see this hole left of the excavator. That is the the test hole that we did to see how fast groundwater was pouring into this area, to figure out if we had time to dig the hole, pump the water out, drop the tank in, get it level, get it set, start filling it up before the hydraulic pressure push this thing out of the ground.
Right.
Because if that tank ever does go empty, it will get pushed out of the ground, blowing it up because of the hydraulic pressure coming from the lake.
Right.
No different than a liner pool or a fiberglass pool. You've got to have a system of sump pumps in there underneath, pumping that water out, especially if you're ever going to drain it to service it.
Right.
And so I was nervous, especially with, like you said, the day it came in, because you can see it in the background now. It's in the back right corner. That is that big white tank with that huge black chute coming out of the top of it. Because I was like, what are we going to do with this thing? And will it work? And the whole time I'm trying to instill confidence in the customer. Like, yes, we can do your idea. We're going to be able to pull this off.
No problem. I got this.
He knew I had not done a tank. So, I was very, hey, the same company I use sells these. I've never done it. I'm sure we can do it. One mistake I made in this project, which you'll see in a little bit, is where we put the valves and the pump. They're supposed to be within 10 feet of the feature itself, and he wanted it moved because of the sound and things like that, not having to listen to it. And I said, yeah, we can move it, no problem. What I found out months later is that it causes a priming issue all the time. And so I had to put a autofill on the priming of the pump set for 4 different times a day. So that way the pump stays primed anytime somebody's going out there to use it. Because due to all the bends and turns and everything else, it creates air pockets.
Catches air.
And it loses prime.
Oh, wow.
And so I should have stuck to the specs. I shouldn't have said I could do the impossible. And it kind of bit me in the butt. But we've kind of worked all that out now. But
one thing I want to point out real quick, I know in a little bit a while ago, you saw all those white pipes and stuff. That was old sprinkler lines. This
Yeah.
is a really old house. I think it was built in like the 50s or 60s,
Yep.
and they came in and completely redid it. So
Redid it, added 3,000 square feet to it.
Oh, it was
I mean,
crazy.
this whole outdoor living space, the fireplace, the kitchen, this big patio, everything.
So it was almost like it didn't matter where we dug, we were finding old PVC pipes everywhere.
Right.
And then we ran, I can't even tell you how many PVC pipes between swimming pool, spa, the splash pad. Then you had drainage everywhere.
Between the drainage and the irrigation and everything, at one time I had over $12,000 in PVC.
Whew.
Just the PVC alone and the fittings and, miscellaneous things. But yeah, it's crazy. And you had to do this whole job in phases. So you knew you had so many different features. And so all of your utilities, since it's such a tight space, they had to be put in layers. And so you may have, French drain at your bottom layer,
Right.
and then you may be a step up above that where your irrigation's at. And then right above that is where your plumbing's coming in for your splash pad. So you have 3 different utilities in one area all running together. And then, like on this project, we get, landscape lighting added to us at the very end. Like, hey,
Well, that happened a lot on this project because the splash pad was in the design, then it got taken out of the design, put back in the design. I think it got taken out again.
Right. That's why all the concrete's poured. It was not supposed to be a part of this project. And so, people have asked me, a lot on Instagram and stuff, like, hey, why didn't y'all just pump that? Because we pumped the whole upper deck, which was a nightmare.
Right.
I mean, you were there that day. We had many issues with the concrete trucks. Yeah, concrete trucks.
People screaming at each
timbers
other.
and everything, just because equipment, wasn't working out, and we weren't able to pump it, and finally it worked out, and all that.
We had a lot of guys standing around getting paid.
Yep.
So anytime that happens, things get kind of tense.
Yeah, and so instead of paying a pump fee on this job, I knew it was going to be a ton of edging, all the different joints, like for the design aspect. My concrete guy didn't even want to do the job. Me and my crew had to do it because he didn't want to deal with all of that. And I thought, well, I can do it. I'll break it up. And I brought my crews out, so my mowing crews and everything like that, they're out here helping us wheelbarrow concrete, learning concrete, laying it down. And once we got it handled each time, we'd let them go back to mowing. And so that worked out well, but it was the worst thing there was waiting on the concrete trucks.
Yeah.
So there was 2 different days we were supposed to pour, this being one of them, that concrete never showed up. We weren't ready at this point, but I never told the concrete plant that. It just did not show up that day.
Yeah, because we showed up that morning going, hey, we're going to go out here and get all these forms set and be ready for concrete.
Yeah.
And it's almost a godsend that the truck didn't show up this day because we were having lots of issues getting everything graded right. Because right now we're trying to get this center of this thing where the drain's going to be, because on the splash pad, your outside edge is higher than where your drain is to push all that water to the middle.
Yeah, so it's kind of
drop into that
like
drain.
a bowl,
Yeah.
so that way it's coming in from those 4 corners all draining.
But it's only like, what, an inch drop?
So, yeah, I think we put an 1.25 inch drop. That's all it was.
Okay.
It was very little that you put on there because you don't need a lot. As long as
Right.
no kids lay on the drain or something gets covered, you don't have to worry about the water backing up and, overflowing.
Right.
But then also it's got to be dead center. Everything here was symmetrical, like square and symmetrical, and it's when your customer's a little OCD, you've got to be very, very careful. And I am, but only to an extent.
Right.
And so it took it to a whole different stress level, trying to make sure that it was perfect.
So
Yeah.
this is like several days later at this point.
So we've already been through 2 days. This is day 3 right now.
Okay.
We were there day 1. We
'Cause
had
I
to
wasn't-
leave because nothing was happening. Day 2, we only got that done, and
Yeah,
we're supposed to
I showed
pour.
up. I showed up 2 days to pour,
Yeah,
and we never poured.
right.
And then
We won't even pour this day.
I didn't show up this day because I think I was out mowing,
Yep.
and y'all started doing all this to get ready to pour.
Right.
And I don't think y'all poured again this
no,
day.
No, we don't pour this day either. So that's 2 days now that we haven't poured. And, so here we're setting the tank, getting all that ready. And it's a good thing that we didn't pour this day either, because you'll see later on we bring a bunch of gravel in, get the grade really nice and tight, and just get rid of some of the dirt and mud and stuff that we had in that area.
Y'all struggled with this tank a little bit too, getting it in there and getting it kind of positioned right, because even at this point you can't even get it down in the hole because the hole's not quite big enough.
Right, so we're having to shave it all out, and then even once we get it down in there, I saw Brandon messing with the guys, but he poked him with the shovel, and but even once we get it, get it wide enough, we hit solid rock down there, and we can't get that rock out to get it to sit right. So like right now it's sitting on that rock and it shifted back on us. And I don't even show it all in the video, but I wait. So one, you didn't make fun of me, but then also so people at home didn't have to watch how painful it was. But we pulled this thing out several times, just pulling it out, going back in, pulling it out, going back in, and checking it, trying to get it right. And it takes a while, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's a little bit of trial and error, and the fact that you've never done one of these tanks before. You're learning on the fly kind of thing.
Yeah, and I'm right next to a finished out pool and patio. So
that you're trying not to
destroy, mess up, That's what the Viz Queen was hopefully for, like to try to keep some of the mud and stuff off, which we still had to pressure wash it 2 or 3 times before we ever left this job. And then here in a minute, we're going to have to get in there. We're going to have to sit there and bucket out all this dirt or all this water. And so it's just, it's really frustrating. Working next to the lake. The best thing.
Well, the lake came up too.
Yeah.
Because like
it wasn't earlier, but
in Hot Springs they lower the lake in the wintertime.
Yep.
And then in the summer they'll raise it back up and
do seawall repair, boat dock repair, all that kind of stuff. And now the lake's up.
And we had just got to that spot where I think they had raised the lake like the day or two before this.
4 or 5 feet.
Yeah.
And so
you were fighting that water as well because that changes the water table at that point.
Yep.
And raises the water table, which puts more water in the hole that you're digging to put that tank.
Yeah, makes it fun. That's for sure. And all while not trying to sweat it and keep the customer, from freaking out and
from thinking you had
nervous.
No clue what you were doing.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. But luckily I do have a tank at my house.
Right.
And it is submersed, but that was before I knew about the kits or anything like that.
So you built your own kit.
Yeah, I built my own kit. Yeah. And but I dropped a submersible pump in mine and just dropped it right in my tank. Okay. And that has solved a ton of issues, which I actually pitched to the customer before we did the autofill. And it was like, hey, if this doesn't work out, we're going to do what I know works. And that's, put in this, submersible pump, which would mean running all new plumbing over into there and hooking it up, which would really stink. But
yeah, that would not have been fun.
We have not had any issues for like 4 weeks now. So fingers crossed, knock on wood.
So ever since you got the autofill put in there, right. it seems to work.
It did. And then we lost prime, and then I increased and added 2 more times a day, and it worked out. So
we've jumped another day or two.
Yeah. So now the tank's in, the drains in. This is still that same day.
Okay.
Yeah, we are day 3. We are still out here day 3.
So what are you doing right here? Because I see you painting everything, and I'm sure everybody watching's like, what the heck is all this?
Right. So I've laid out, so everything with the red caps is our nozzles. Or not our nozzles, but our, basically the housing for our nozzles. So that's going to be where your spouts are for your splash pad. And then I'm laying it out so that things are paired together. So that one that Brandon was just working on top left, it's going to be plumbed in with the bottom right, So I'm putting them together whenever they shut off.
So all your orange lines are more or less like where your pipes are going to run.
PVC pipe, yeah, and what's going to tie together.
So you're just getting it straight in your head,
right?
Before you have them start digging.
Yeah.
So you kind of know.
I take a mental picture at that point, and it all makes sense to me, and I know where I'm going with what plumbing, then, and I just kind of coach them through it.
Right.
With the kit, they tell you to plumb like top left with inside left, and I just don't like that. I like things being across from each other as they're turning on and turning off, because these kits have a valve system that electronically turns on, so the kids can play like whack-a-mole with the splash pad and go chase different nozzles that are coming on and off, and I want them to jump across from each other and chasing them. And so Brandon went in as we were doing this. All that little 90s have a 3/4 inch reducer to a 3/4 inch piece of pipe, which glue into the bottom of the housing. I like to use all 1 inch. I want to have plenty of volume, so I don't ever use the 3/4 inch that they call for in running all of this.
So then you just neck it down right at the nozzle.
Right. Yeah, it's right there at the bottom of the nozzle. It goes to 1 inch. And with PVC prices getting how they are, I may do 3/4 because my valves are 3/4. I'm really not gaining that much, especially with the new pump system that Rain Deck has come out with. I think it'll probably be fine. We saw it had way too much pressure anyways, and we were turning them down because when we first fire this thing up, you're going to see here in a little bit that, I mean, we were shooting it into the pool. We were shooting it into the hot tub. Like it was, way oversized for this, 8 nozzle
It definitely
system.
wasn't going back in the drain where we need it to go.
No, we had to do a lot of finessing to get that. But, all we're doing here is we're just digging it out, getting everything so that we can glue and put our PVC in. My guys are over there, cutting and measuring and putting in the PVC. They're probably asking me about right now, like, man, how long does this one need to be? Where's this one going? Because, like I said, it was in my head at this point, and we're just trying to go, on the fly and get it done. And so I'm measuring them all out, telling Brandon measurements. He's cutting it, and then we're trying to put it back in the right spot and get it all glued together.
So do you feel like these are, like, challenging? Do you think, like, a homeowner could buy one of these kits and do it themselves? Or is this something they should more focus on, like, calling a professional and having that done?
Unless you have construction experience and plumbing experience, I would say that you probably need to call a professional. I mean, you've got some weekend warrior, DIY guys that can definitely pull this off. It is simple, especially if you buy the kit, but it's labor intensive. I mean, we do this thing, in a couple of days, but look at the manpower. I mean, there's a lot of manpower, and you haven't seen,
There's what,
a fraction of it.
seven guys just on screen right now.
Yeah, and in my defense, yes, I'm overstaffed at this point, but I still think concrete's coming.
Right.
And so
you're still trying to prep everything.
Yeah, I'm still prepping.
Thinking there's a truck coming.
Yeah, I still think it's coming. I don't find out for about 20 more minutes at this point that we're not getting it.
And at that point, you just send the crew?
Well, no, actually, I checked grade and I realized how bad it was. And so I had already sent my dad to go get a load of gravel. And so my dad runs my dump trucks and all that. And so I told him, hey, go get us a load of gravel, come back here, because we need to fill all this stuff in.
Right.
And so, once that happens, we switch and I get everything nice and tight to grade. And then here in a minute, once the PVC's done, something that we hadn't even really thought of a whole lot, the customer throws on us lighting inside the patio. And so we have to put sleeves in.
So that you can run wires out to a waterproof light.
Waterproof light, yeah, which in this we use a submersible waterproof light, and I put it into a 2-inch sleeve. And so I usually just use a 90 or a coupling and put it in that. And that way the light fits perfect right down in it. I'll put a little bead of silicone and it's sealed off, put some extra wire down in there in case you ever got to cut it and splice it out. But, that's what we do for our lights, and just put them on with the landscape lights. So, in the evening, they'll just, turn on and come on at dusk, and, you put it on a timer.
I was laughing because that's the spot where I remember that section. It's where MJ was like dancing around trying to get his shovel to stick in the ground. and you finally see him just like sling it to the ground because it's like typical MJ.
I think you sent me a reel for that to turn it into. Yeah, I got to pull that thing out and post it on. When we post this video, I'm going to post that on Instagram to promote it. So I got to pick at him a little bit. So, but this is a lot of the plumbing and stuff. This we just cover in dirt. Earlier you saw us putting DG around the drain pipe and around the tank. You don't have to do that. I just do it to protect it. The thin wall drain stuff is a lot different than the scheduled 40 PVC. And so this can handle the dirt and on all that. The other stuff is a little thinner, and I'm just trying to keep it from getting damaged.
So that just keeps it from like really compacting around it and crushing it.
Right. Yep. And so I knew we were going to be running wheelbarrows, may or may not have a machine in there. I didn't know. And so anytime I'm doing that kind of plumbing work, I'll cover it with sand or DG. Anytime I'm doing a pool, all my plumbing's getting covered in sand. I know some guys do it in gravel. I'm just not that brave. And then right here, he's just finishing up the last little bit of nozzles. We had a little bit of a hiccup there, moved some stuff around. Dad's back with the dump truck now. And looks like he's antsy. What have you guys been doing? That's all you got done? Something like that. I know that's what he said.
I can picture that.
Yeah. And,
I've been gone for 2 hours.
Right. Like, why is concrete not here yet?
Why did it take you 2 hours to go get gravel?
Yeah, that's the better question. That's right. May have to put Life 360 on his phone, start tracking him. But no, it's all in fun. He does a great job. I'm just thankful to be able to work with him every day and still get along and enjoy each other's company. So that was MJ looking at his phone saying we're not getting concrete or his watch. And, so here we go trying to bring in gravel now and switching gears. And it's going to work out for us. Like I said, you said earlier, it's kind of a godsend because this thing's way out of grade at this point. You can see the gap underneath the form board on that outside right edge.
Yeah.
We didn't really take a lot of that into consideration as we were digging, moving the dirt around and all that. And so I was frustrated in the moment, but it worked out way better for us.
Yeah, because you would have ended up with 4 or 5 inch pour on the one side, and then your typical 3.5 inch pour on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, some of it may have been 6 or 7.
And then it would have been like, do you have enough concrete? Did
Right.
you order enough? Is there enough on the truck?
Yep.
You just definitely don't want to ask for a tail up because who knows, you might not even get it.
Right. Yeah, and so I mean, we need to get it tight because anytime we're figuring up our concrete, I'll figure our typical pour is 3.5 inches thick. I'll know that 1 yard's going to cover roughly 85 square feet. And so that's how I can figure that up. If I'm doing if I'm using a pump, I usually order like an extra half yard because some of that's going to get eaten up in the hopper and the hose when they're priming and stuff. Luckily, doing it by wheelbarrow, you don't have to worry about that.
Right.
But I still like to figure out my total yardage and then make sure we got, I just round up at that point. I round up to the next half or to the next hole and make sure we've got a little bit extra. And so the little pipe that you see sticking up, like right there by my dad's rake, that is what we're going to glue the red pieces to. And we don't set those yet until we get the gravel in, and then we're going to shoot grade again and pull a string line, and then we'll know exactly what height to cut those off at to glue the nozzle onto it.
Okay, because you're falling from the edge, from the 2x4 at the edge all the way to the middle. So you have to have that grade and that at the same level of that grade because you want it right at the top of the concrete.
Right, exactly. And so you've got a little bit of fall from like your outside nozzle to your inside nozzle, so those aren't going to be the same exact height. So you've got to figure out what that is.
You have to individually measure each one.
Yeah. Or shoot it with a laser.
Yeah, laser probably makes it way easier.
Yeah.
But again, I'm thinking like homeowner, DIYer, doing this on their own. Not every DIYer has a laser.
Right.
So it's like.
Yeah, you can do it with a string. Set it your outside edge with a string and a level. I mean, you can definitely pull it off with that.
Right.
It's a little bit more labor intensive, but the whole thing with we talked about earlier. This project was in limbo. So this is a Airbnb, and this property has multiple investors, and so they had to get all the investors on board. Some of the investors had children, and they saw the upsell of having the splash pad,
right,
a place for the kids to play, be able to entertain, and some of them don't have younger children, and they didn't see the significance of it.
Yeah, because I think a splash pad is great for young kids and for the parents because you don't have to keep as close of an eye on them as you would with a swimming pool.
Right, yeah, you're not worried about them drowning.
Right.
And so
you're
it's
right.
Like
you can hang
yours
out by
at
your house. I
mean,
do you let your kids go out and play in yours by themselves, or
oh yeah,
y'all go
I'll
out
just turn
there,
it on.
Or?
Yeah, I mean we'll go out there, we'll leave the kitchen door open or the whatever. But yeah, I mean we just flip it on and it's like, hey, go play,
go have fun.
Yeah, it's no more than telling them to go play on the playground.
You're not stressed like you would be if it was a swimming pool. You'd want to be right there with your kids.
Yeah, I mean same reason why I put my trampoline in the ground. You know, I didn't want to worry about them falling off, so I just dug a hole, way over reinforced it and with a block, retaining wall around it and dropped it in the ground.
Right.
Since then we figured out that there's a better way to do that too.
So I get why, the ones with kids kind of understood, why this had value is because they realize, hey, when you go to the lake, you're on vacation, what are you going to do? You're probably going to drink a couple beers. You don't want to have to stress over your kids.
Right.
And
it's something fun. It's a little bit different than going and just jumping off the dock into the lake. Just waiting in the pool. The pool's that nice 4-foot height. It's great for, playing ball or, set up a floating basketball goal or, set up a volleyball net on each side of it and play. Like, you can do a lot of things with that pool that we built. But this is a little bit different, and, kids really enjoy it. The big sell point why I got into it is me and my son were in Houston, and my wife was shopping, and they had a splash pad there, and he and I just went and played in the splash pad. I was, in my blue jeans and stuff, but he wanted to play and wanted me to chase him. And next thing you know, I'm soaked. I'm like, well, I'm soaked, so I might as well just have a good time with him. Right. And it was a good time out there in 100-degree heat. Didn't mind really getting soaked for that reason. And my wife got to shop and have a good time. And we played in the water and had a great time. And I thought, there's a lot of value in these things.
Right.
This is something that I could see, being a good product to sell to customers, but then also something for me and my family to enjoy. And that's why I came home and I built one right away, built one at my house and wanted to use it as a portfolio piece to show customers. And now, this one here, I think it's like number 6 or 7, since then. And it's great for my business. It's quick and easy. This is still day 3. Day 3 is our longest day. Getting everything to grade, but you've seen it's come up 2-3 inches now.
Right.
It happened for a reason. What we talked about, laying out the nozzles, they're doing that now. You start to see them gluing on those red pieces, using that screed board as their marker to be able to figure out what depth it needs to be set. And then now they're backfilling the tank with more gravel. But back on the Airbnb thing, that's something that excites me, Kevin, with, our ventures is as we get into these, Kevin and I also have another company together, and we're going to be getting into Airbnbs pretty soon. We've got a couple things on the horizon today that we're hoping to close on pretty quickly. And if we do, it's neat to know that we can use our skills from our companies and what we're able to do in a backyard. And
it was definitely neat being around these guys as they were going through this process of building this house, because I was like asking them Airbnb questions every time I got to talk to them. I was like, prodding for information because I knew the plans that Blake and I had and the future that we want to build. And it was like, hey, here's an opportunity. This guy's doing all this. Right. He's doing what we want to do. Yeah. And, their focus, they own, I don't know how many houses around the lake, but they own several. Right. And they really focus on the outdoor living.
Yep.
And that's why they kind of go over the top on the outdoor living. Oh, yeah. Concrete's here.
Yeah, we'll jump back to that in just a second. But, yeah, we skipped straight past doing the lights. That kind of happened when we were trying to leave. So all those black wires and all those blue circles are lights.
Okay.
So lights are set, wired up, they work. We double-checked them, and there's extra wire in there. We could run a sleeve, but we've never had any issues, and there's like a foot of extra wire in there.
So we're on a different day now, right?
Yeah, it's day 4.
So this is day 4.
Yeah, so nothing happened that afternoon.
We never got concrete day 3.
Correct. Yep, and so now we've got concrete. Here's the concrete guy. So I called him. I was like, "Hey, what are y'all doing? And
can you come save me?"
Yeah,
because I couldn't be there this day either.
Right.
Because I remember not being able to be there. I don't know what was going on.
Yeah, and my crew was out mowing and stuff. We have a fraction of the manpower we had, and that's because they were out mowing, and we didn't know we were actually going to get concrete. Excuse me. I didn't know we were going to get concrete, and concrete just shows up. I get a call from the contractor that, hey, there's a concrete truck here. I'm like, I was supposed to get a call when it left the plant. So I didn't bring my crew over. I didn't jump because I thought it was like a little boy who cried wolf.
Right.
Hey, you're getting concrete today. I'm like, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it.
Right. And then it just showed up.
And then it just shows up. And it's like, oh, man, now I'm not prepared. Yeah. So I called in a favor, to my guys. When I did my downsize with my company, one of my really good employees, Jared, right here coming in.
The white boots.
Yeah, at the white boots. Helped him kind of get going in concrete. He loved it, and I had bought out a concrete company like 2 years prior, and he excelled in it. And I was like, he wants to do it, so I'll just help him get going, get him some contacts with some of my contractors, and he's done great with it. But luckily, he typically can stop what he's doing and come and help me when I need it. And that's been great. Try not to abuse that because
you want him to be able to come
I do.
On those days that you really need him.
Yeah, and like this one was legit called like last minute, like, hey man, what are y'all doing? And,
can you meet me here?
Yeah, right. He's like, I'll do it, yeah, because we're not pouring this afternoon. And so very thankful for you guys doing that, Jared. But yeah, we get this all laid down. So what you see is they're floating in the outside edge. I used to do stamped concrete. But the bad thing about stamped concrete is that you've got to use an additive to make it non-slippery because stamped concrete is super slippery when wet. And that was a terrible combination with the splash pad.
Right.
And so I still have stamped concrete on mine, and I have to use an additive that is a non-slip additive and do it at twice the suggested rate and do it every single year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's still not the safest. But this is going to be a broom finish. And so we don't have to worry about that at all. It's a lot better. And if they were worried about them still being slippery, you could put that additive on there and it'd help, but it's not slippery. What you see them Xing is they're marking the nozzles. And so you float the concrete right over the top of it. And you just hope that you can come back and find that and just kind of scrape and chisel it off, pull that red cap off, and then put the actual nozzle in.
And that way that nozzle is right there at the top of the concrete.
Right at the top. It's not sticking up. It's not, sunken down. One of these ends up sunken down. Another one ends up high. He gets the one set lower that was sticking up. But the one that was low, we couldn't get it raised up. So we do have one that's going to be just a hair recessed in this.
So at that point, do you just kind of float the concrete out to try to give it a spot for the water to run? And
Yep. Yeah, just kind of float it out, and then once that nozzle's in, you're good to go.
So just out of curiosity, what do you do if you can't find one of those nozzles?
Grab a tape measure
and start measuring out.
Yeah, because it's
all the measurements.
It's all square.
That.
Yeah. So these were so the corner with the X1, I think they were 3 feet in and 3 feet in. So 3 feet from the edge. So you would have just
been measuring, going, I think it's right here, and stuck your finger in it to see.
Exactly. Yep. And we do that in some of this.
It looked like you were searching.
We had flags, so we had flags in them.
Okay.
But the concrete guys hate the flags in them because they don't want to work around them. And then once they chunk the flags, they never get put back.
And then you lose them.
Yeah, and so those are flags over there.
Okay.
But they're going to chunk them out pretty quickly. That's what you see kind of laying around the edges, those white flags they pulled out and threw. But, yeah, they were one laid down.
So how long did it take them to lay this? I mean, just this small area.
Wheelbarrowing it, laying it down.
What is it, 15 by?
This one here, I believe it was 12.5 by 12.5.
Okay. I was thinking it was a little bigger than that.
Yeah. So this one wasn't. You may be right. It may have been a 15 by 15.
I
think we increased it. Yeah, we increased it by 2 feet in both directions just to have less splash.
And how long did it take them, real time to lay this down? I know it's only taken
to get to this point right here?
3 or 4 minutes for us.
From no concrete to right here?
Yeah.
40 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe not even that long.
And that was wheelbarrowing it in, which is
crazy.
crazy.
What you see us wheelbarrow now is we're free stacking a wall. So we put an outside form on there, but we gave him some retaining walls. I did one on the other side around the putting green area, and then I matched him one over here around this turfed area, so that way we didn't have to worry about the slope. I can make a nice level area, and we'd have, a place to put turf when we're finished.
Yeah. And we do show that here in just a few minutes. I was actually there on that day.
When we do the turf?
When we did the turf. So I was actually able to help with that, and we had one roll of turf, and we had to make sure we used it properly. So it took
there was not
time.
much to spare, so we had to really measure it, flip it, and make sure we were utilizing every square foot of it. And there was only one way to do it without waste and not having to piece a small piece in it. Right. And we actually pulled it off. So
You got your cool sunglasses on there, I see.
Yeah, my wife hates those things. She threatened to like chew them up with a mower one time, and
It'd be a good thing to do with them.
yeah, my Dalmatian Folkleys. They were supposed to be camouflage, but that's what you get for ordering off one of those third-party sites.
I'm surprised anything actually showed up.
Yeah, there you go.
So he's getting it broomed now.
Yeah, so it's already, we floated it, we trialed it, or floated it, Fresnoed it, trialed it, and then now it's finished, cured up enough that we're brooming it. And all the broom had to go parallel with the pool. So the broom had to go from house to lake, every single broom direction on this one.
Okay.
Because we got off on one, and I heard the customer say something about it.
Like he caught it.
He caught it, yeah. Like, it's like I've never had somebody.
Why is that one broom the
right,
opposite way?
I had never thought about broom as like a decorative finish, so I'd never thought twice about it.
Right.
And it was like, golly, well, I see what you mean. I'm not jackhammering that out, but I won't make the mistake the rest of the project. And so all the broom on the rest of the project was all from, house to lake.
So real quick, once we got to here, we did not film any of all the gravel that went in.
Yeah, we didn't film
there
like
was
the
a whole
rest of the
bunch
plumbing.
Of gravel going in all around that. And this is days and days later at this point.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there was one day to like clean up forms and put gravel in and finish the plumbing, and so this would be like day 6 of the project. They have a really nice knife. Almost looks like a pizza cutter that you can cut this turf with. I recommend it. We burned through blades on the box cutters and stuff. And I've got some scissors that are titanium. They work great, but they're toast after one project.
Yeah.
But
nobody knew where they were this day because I searched and searched for them.
Yeah, I know where they're at now.
Right. Yeah, I found them a week later.
Hey, are these the things we needed?
Exactly.
But yeah, so we backfill with DG. So there's a system of drainage, and then we top it with DG. I don't like using sand because I don't want something that the weeds will grow in. They'll still grow in this because of how fine it is, but it's a lot less likely. So the DG is on top of the drain and the gravel, and it just makes almost like sand to be able to lay this turf in, and keeps it nice and smooth and allows for us to be able to finish it.
And you're just using like a landscape staple.
Yeah, so I like to use like spikes, like 8 or 12-inch spikes to hold it down, and then I come back in with the landscape staple. They have them for the turf. They're a lot stiffer than what you'll have for like your landscape fabric.
Right.
And those are the ones I recommend. They're already kind of spiked on the ends, and they're probably twice the stiffness of your regular landscape.
Yeah. And the other thing with the DG is it's lit just under the concrete so that the turf can butt right against the concrete and not have like a raised edge.
Right. Yeah, there I am on the phone again. But
wait,
I don't know how me and MJ managed to have matching hats on.
I think I got there and was like, nobody told me it was Gravely Hat Day. I mean, I need a warning here.
Yeah, that must have. I don't know. That's kind of funny. That never happes. But
and you already wear the same shirt.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's company policy. So this is us laying it out. Kind of back to the Airbnb thing. I like the idea that we're going to get into it, but also like I was saying, the opportunity we're going to have to be able to transform these spaces for people, because I want to really focus on, family spaces. Right. And, even maybe some, family getaway type things that maybe husband and wife come to it and don't bring their kids, but also be a space if they do bring their kids. And this allows us to be able to really take our properties. Ideas. Yeah, and really take our properties to the next level.
Right.
Because I feel like these little things like this are going to be what sets you apart in that market. Yeah. And it's a very competitive market.
And I'm just curious for you guys watching, is that something, as Blake and I kind of get into the Airbnbs, we start doing remodels, is that something you want to see on the channel? I mean, we are talking about building some projects, and we could film those as we go through it and do this podcast kind of video with it. If you guys enjoy it, we would love to do it. But if it's not something you guys want to see and you'd rather just see the overgrown yards, we'll stick with that.
Yeah, no, I hope they definitely want to see it, and we'll be able to share aspects of the project and stuff like that. And you sped this up and made it look way less painful than it actually was.
It was
figure out how to make that radius.
Oh yeah. And I'm
put that
literally
turf in.
having to stand on the turf as he's cutting it to try to keep it straight on the radius.
Right. While
as
AJ's
he's
cutting it straight to the edge of the patio.
Right.
And we only had like maybe 12 inches to spare on that far
other side.
corner. Yeah.
Yep.
So it was very frustrating.
One of the things I'm surprised you did is not have an access point to that tank, because the tank is right under pretty much where we're standing right now.
Right. Well, the customer didn't want to see it. So he actually said, like, I don't want to see the black cap, or I don't want to have a valve box here.
Right.
And I was like, well, I'll make a measurement of it. We'll make a note of it over here on the equipment. Tank's at, X and X off of the wall, off of the patio. And if we ever have to access it, we're just going to have to rake it back. We're going to pull the turf back, rake it back, and get into it.
So that DG, that's funny. I didn't know that. So that DG that's under there, how much did you have to dig down to actually access it?
Only like a half inch. So I measured it with the laser.
Like
I measured it with the
there,
laser.
almost to the top.
Yeah, I measured it with the laser, and then I thought, let me cut it a little lower, and I shouldn't have.
Hey, she's running.
So, yeah, we got water finally, and this was, I don't think we show this either, but it was a lot of there you go. You see a little bit of it, but it was a lot of figuring out these ball valves. So there's an electronic valve and there's a ball valve on it. And so it's set in a system, like a sequence where it shuts on and shuts off. And we would have to go in there and adjust that ball valve so it wasn't spraying into the spa or spraying into the pool. But
and these are the dances it does.
Yeah.
That's
right
what you're seeing right now.
Yep. But all in all, it turned out really good. And I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Get to see a little bit on the backside. And if you want to see more of this stuff or some of our Airbnb, leave it in the comments below.